What's up, everybody? Welcome in. I see Roel's here. D. Lynn, hello. We've got our team behind the scenes with us. Hello. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Performance Medicine Show. This is where we answer your health and wellness questions live every week. I see my grandmother Mary is here. Happy Tuesday to you. I hope I need an update on the walk to Knoxville. Where are we at mileage wise? Bianca, what's up? Anna, hello. Great to see everybody. Thank y'all for hanging out tonight. And Bianca actually brought this up in that she's on Central Time, and I'm just I hadn't thought about that. There's a lot of people in here who are with us at 6 p.m. Central. So thank you guys for coming a bit early, and I hope we're not messing up any dinner plans. Maybe y'all are having dinner with us. Who knows? Michelle, what's up? Great to see you. Barbara, what's going on? So glad to have everybody in. We're going to let the crew get in. Doc is on his way. And as you guys know, we sent out Performance Weekly today. We had three new episodes go up on the YouTube channel. Thank you guys to anyone who's watched that already. I'm going to go ahead and see. For those who don't know, the Performance Weekly it's a curation of basically all things performance medicine. We put in usually we have 2 to 3 episodes a week go up. This week, the Common Sense MD topic was fungal toenails. This was a interesting topic, and oddly enough, if you've watched this already, you can tell Doc is passionate about this, and I can speak to that, in firsthand experience. He has taken off one of my toenails before, and it wasn't the most pleasant thing I've ever done. I don't know if I would tell him that to his face. He's not here yet. But super interesting episode. Basically, the way we tie it into longevity is with movement. And let's see, this was a really, really important episode of Explain This with the star of the show, Robin Riddle. It's on birth control. She's putting out a lot of content on functional fertility. And if you guys haven't followed her on Instagram, please do. Functional Fertility PM over on Instagram talks a lot about this type of thing. And this was on birth control. And the way I would kind of describe this episode of Explain This is like, it's the conversation that we haven't had. And, it's important. It's just important for everybody. You need to watch it, share it with somebody you care about. It's really interesting just around the risk of birth control. We dive into diet. Nutrition coach Lucas Schmidt does a this or that episode. And this is where we talk about healthy alternatives or healthier alternatives to our favorite foods and snacks. If you guys have not been to Oppenheimer or Barbie or are planning to do so, watch this episode before, because we talk a little bit about, some movie candy alternatives, stuff like that is super fun. Definitely check that out. Lisa, thank you so much for sharing. As always, that means the world to us. Deborah, what's up? I see that. Prevagen. Good question there. Roel at 6 in Texas. D. Lynn, I see your question there. Perfect. Talk a little bit about zinc. I think Doc is ready to roll. I believe him. Are we ready to roll? Cool. What's going on?
Hey, Ben, how are you?
How was my intro?
I don't know. I just got down here. I missed your intro.
You missed my intro?
Well, yeah, I missed the whole thing, but your hair looks a lot better tonight.
I know. I put a little more focus on it, and
probably actually, a little more product on it.
Yeah, right? I had to settle that side down for some reason. you
Yeah.
know, it's just been odd. But I'm actually going to get a haircut this week, hopefully. uh, I got you, Braden. Braden, good to see you. I got the email. We got that in. That's perfect. That'll come up here just shortly. Um, One thing I got to mention is, this week's episode of Common Sense MDs on fungal toenails, and I mentioned the time that you and Granddad and Bob took off my toenail.
Mm-hmm.
That was miserable.
It's not fun to have your toenail taken off, but if done right, it's not that painful.
I tell you what, there's a podiatrist in Kingsport. I forget his name. He was incredible. I've had one taken off
Dr.
with him.
Shadowski, very good.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, he was phenomenal. But one thing I'll remember is you guys put, a tourniquet around my toe to block the blood flow. And then when you took it off and the blood flow rushed into the toe, it was like, it was rough. But
I'll tell you a horror story. One time that I heard about was one of the doctors had taken off a toenail and they forgot to take the tourniquet off after the procedure.
oh,
The patient lost their toe.
oh,
Yeah.
God.
I don't remember who did it, but I wouldn't tell you anyway. But yeah, that happened.
Dang. That is a horror story.
Yeah. Always take the tourniquet off
Yes, always take it off.
if you use one.
It hurts, but it's in your best interest. My brother Steve is in the building. Good afternoon or good evening to you, Steve. Thank you for hanging out as always. You ready to get into some questions?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Let's start with let's get this. There's going to be some LDN questions. Let's get this in here. Hesitant to start LDN, 21-year-old male with long COVID. Does LDN cause sexual side effects? And, I actually was talking to you earlier this week. You're using LDN for long COVID quite a bit.
I started one today on LDN.
What's your thoughts on this?
And I actually I had to switch one person today that didn't like the dreaming with LDN. So I just told her to take it during the day.
Oh.
So the only side effect I've ever seen really is more vivid dreams, which some people don't like, but most really it just means you get more REM sleep. So it's probably good for your sleep in that regard. But if you take it in the morning, it really is not going to make you drowsy. So, and you're not going to dream on it in the morning. So, but I haven't had anybody complain of it causing sexual side effects. I just haven't seen that. It does seem to work. I use it for long COVID, as does the Stanford Long COVID Clinic. It's well documented, so it's not all that alternative. But we've been using it for years for a lot of other things like autoimmune disease, and I really need to do another podcast on LDN because it's really a great medicine for a lot of conditions. Don't be hesitant to start it. See how you like it.
So no libido side effects or anything like that you've seen?
Not that I've seen.
Okay.
Libido side effects I've seen just from long COVID.
Yeah.
In itself. So, but good question. No, try it.
Love the LDN questions. Thank you for sending that in on email. Let's get to this one. This is a hair thinning question. This was interesting. So Dr. Andrew Huberman, who we're huge fans of, said to use a shampoo with at least 2% ketoconazole 2 to 4 times a week for hair thinning. Is this basically the dandruff shampoo that you have mentioned
Yes.
using? And okay. And then is this something you would alternate with Ontogeny C?
It is. Yeah. He's right. I mean, it kind of clears the pores out a little bit. It's an antifungal. Ketoconazole is. I think that's better than now if you get something like Head and Shoulders, which is fine too, it has something called selenium sulfide in it that also kills fungus and opens up those pores. So yeah, I think he's right. You should do that. Um, you know, at least a couple times a week.
All right. Thank you for that question there. We're going to go into this was from a listener who had a couple different questions on DHT, and I think this is something that has come up quite a bit on the show. So hopefully this helps more than just one person. We're going to go into DHT here. Please explain DHT a little more. First part of this question is, why do some people convert to more of it than others? I know a high level can be a cause of hair thinning, but what about low level, as if suppressing it in some way?
Yeah, DHT is dihydrotestosterone, and it is the most potent form of testosterone. It actually works really well. The problem with it is if it gets too high, and I don't know why some people just tend to convert to DHT more than others. It doesn't seem to be weight related to me. Like, you know, it seems that a lot of people either will convert to estradiol, aromatize the testosterone to estradiol, or convert it to a more potent form of testosterone called dihydrotestosterone. It has to do with cleavage of the molecule. But so I'm not sure why some people have higher natural testosterone levels than others. Everybody's a little different. But two things that DHT can do: if it gets too high, um, it can cause thinning of the hair, and it also can cause prostate enlargement. So um, a lot of times when you use something to bring the DHT down, like a potent medicine, like um, a dose of finasteride that you would use to shrink a prostate, it could really uh, hurt your sex life
Mm.
because you need some DHT in there for that. So you don't want to lower it too much for sure. But if you're getting thinning hair or enlarged prostate, there's some natural DHT blockers that you can do, um, like saw palmetto is the most common one, stinging nettle root, pumpkin seed. Even curcumin can lower both DHT and total testosterone levels. So, yeah, I mean, it's something you need to keep an eye on. If you start worrying about it or thinning hair, I always check DHT levels in men or women. So that's something, along with the estradiol level, you need to really keep an eye on. So you need some of it, but too much of it could cause those two side effects. But great question.
And
Wonderful
I
question.
and I do think I combined the first two. So this was actually a different question. I apologize. I know high level can be a cause, but what about low level? And I believe you answered that. Uh, let's see here. Let's go to the third part, which is around curcumin and DHT. I heard Humorin say that curcumin made his DHT drop so low that he couldn't stand it and can no longer take curcumin. But he didn't explain what the symptoms were that he couldn't stand. Have you heard that curcumin is a natural way to lower
Yeah,
DHT?
like I just said, curcumin's one of those natural substances, turmeric, that can lower both total testosterone and DHT.
Mm.
It's a great anti-inflammatory. I love curcumin. Um, but yeah, I mean, it can lower. He didn't say it because it probably lowered his sex drive because DHT is the most potent form of testosterone that's responsible for your libido.
Mm.
So that's probably why he stopped taking it. So I'm sure he probably checked his levels and maybe they were too low. Um, so a good point. Very good point. That's another thing that could lower it. So if you're getting thinning hair, um, you might want to try it. But if it kills your sex life, get off of it. Um,
Super interesting. Thank you for sending that in. I hadn't heard that around curcumin, turmeric. Speaking of testosterone, uh, we talk a lot about optimal ranges. Sorry. The question here is, what range for total testosterone and free testosterone do you like to see for 60-year-old males? And we'll go with the optimal ranges here. What's your thoughts on this?
Optimal ranges for a 60-year-old is the same as in a 30-year-old.
Hmm.
I like to see, normal means nothing. Normal, you may see labs that go from 250 to 875 on the total. Um, Free testosterone, you can measure in a few different ways with most scales. I'm not sure if it's nanograms per deciliter. I think it is, but anywhere from like 5 to 25. So in total, I usually like to see it around at least 600, preferably 8, 900. And free, I like to see up there around 20. Free is the part that works. The
Hmm.
rest of it is tightly bound to sex hormone binding globulin are loosely bound to albumin. So that's where the bioavailable becomes very important. So that's a calculation you can get. But really, I don't look at I look at the numbers, but I really listen to the patient and go more by how they're feeling than I do just a lab. But usually testosterone levels are higher in the morning, so I usually measure it in the morning. But and like I had a guy today, and he had a lot of symptoms. His levels around 310. So I double checked it. I drew some more labs and checked it free as well as a total, and we'll base treatment on what I get from that. So a lot of times, because it varies a lot from day to day, so you want to have a patient that has symptoms, number one, and um, then you want optimal levels. And a lot of times that requires a couple measurements. Not always. Sometimes you're just pretty darn sure you don't have to go to that trouble. Like if somebody has a low total, they're going to have a low free. But if they have a normal total, say 500 or so, 550 with a lot of symptoms, you get a free. Most of the time, it's low. So that's what you do. You aim to get the free testosterone higher. Now, also, you got to realize people's testosterone levels vary a lot, just like the DHT question. Um, a lot of people, I'm convinced, went teenage and early 20s with an average testosterone level of 12, 1500. And so those people, you know, are going to want to be around 1,000 or so. And some people just had an intrinsically lowered testosterone levels. They grew up and um, you don't have to replace that high dosage on them. So again, look at the numbers, look at certainly the numbers you have to follow when you know what you're doing with testosterone, male or female, and then you um, listen to the symptoms and keep an eye out for estrogen, DHT, that type of thing, hematocrit.
That's interesting what you said about, if a male is used to having super high levels like 1200, 1500, and then, that's what they're gonna wanna go back to. It's kinda, we talk a lot about with hormone replacement therapy, start feeling like yourself again. And, I guess for everyone, it's a little bit different, what feeling like yourself would be.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different factors for how you feel as well. Your sleep, your exercise, your diet, your stress levels. Um, unfortunately, as we get older, we have more. Seems like we have more stress on us. You know, um, that you might not have had when you're 18 years old, when you didn't have a care in the world. Uh, you know, but
You know, would you say the same thing about women in terms of like, your optimal levels at 60 should be the same as your optimal levels at 30?
yeah, mhm,
Okay.
yeah.
Super, super interesting. Thank you so much for that
And I
question.
had another patient make a great point today,
Yeah.
and fortunately, she had a really up to date gynecologist who was actually doing her bioidentical hormone replacement. It's rare, but she was doing it for her. And when the patient asked him, "How long should I be on this?" And she says, "Forever, for your lifetime," which I
Yeah.
agree with. A
Yeah.
lot of, if you read a lot of like American Journal of Menopause, they'll say 65, not past 65. Well, that's BS. Like I put a little note on one of my things you put up for last week, that article out of the Wall Street Journal, where
Yeah.
we've known that women, when they enter a late menopause, they're healthier. They don't come down with the same diseases men do, at 50 years old, heart disease, namely. But so you want to put this whole article is about avoiding menopause. And that's really what we're trying to do with bioidentical hormones for years. It's not new to us, but it's a new concept to most researchers, and they're finding out that you do want to delay menopause. You don't want to go through menopause because you lose bone volume, brain volume, muscle, energy. So look at your hormone levels. Very important.
I want to dig in a little bit on the avoiding menopause thing because I see Elise has a great question on YouTube around hormones as well. So we'll get to Elise's question in just a second. Um, when you say avoiding menopause, like say I'm a 37-year-old male, say I'm a 37, 40-year-old female, and I hear that from you, like what would I need to do to kind of try to avoid or delay menopause?
Um, well, some of it's genetic. So
Okay.
you may get an early menopause. Certainly avoid having a hysterectomy if you can. That's even if they don't take your ovaries, it's going to bring on an early menopause because they're cutting some of the same nerve and blood vessel supply of the ovary. So you're usually going to go into a menopause a year or two after you get a hysterectomy. I don't care how old you are. But bioidentical hormone replacement is the answer and they drop off at different rates. So we begin with progesterone, which is usually the first one to drop off, testosterone closely behind. And the last thing to drop off will be estrogen. By the time that drops off, you have no periods. You're already into a lot of bone loss. So treat early. Start looking at it in the mid 40s for sure.
Super interesting. Thank you for putting in this question around testosterone that led into that topic. I'm sure there are people here who have more questions about that. So if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. We're going to get to the live questions here shortly. I see Braden's got one. Thank you. Kathy's got one on Facebook. But before that, I'm just going to put you up. I got to give you some flowers. Carter is saying that you killed it today in Kingsport. So that's amazing, man.
Carter, thank you for filling in today because, a lot of people take vacations in the summer. So
Yeah,
Carter is our go-to. She'll work any clinic,
that's awesome. That's
so she
awesome.
does such a great job and kept me going today. We did have a busy day, a lot of new patients, and that takes some time. But as I told one of my new patients today, who I ended up spending a lot of time with, they asked me why I didn't take insurance, and I said because of things like this visit. If I took insurance and had to do EMR, I'd have been out of here in 7 minutes. We wouldn't have gotten anywhere,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
she really appreciated that, and we're able to spend a lot of time and really get to the root of her problem. And so it's kind of gratifying. Not like I told her I wouldn't be doing medicine if I had to deal with insurances every day and coding and EMRs and non-medical people telling me what to do, how many patients I need to see. So I'm in a zone with the way my practice is. When I opened it 17 years ago, I never knew it would turn it into. The timing was so great, and it enabled me to really have to become a better doctor and research a lot of stuff and think outside the box. And certainly 17 years later, it's grown like crazy, and I never would have guessed it. Here I am, 68 years old, and I won't retire because I like it so much, because I'm focused on the patient. So anyway, that's an
Yeah,
aside. That's an aside for people. Most people know what I do and why I do it, but it's just gratifying. And the type of patients I get are so good. They want to be there. They want help, and they want to get to the cause of their problem.
mm, mm.
Not just have a knee-jerk reaction of here's another medicine for you. Maybe that'll help. But anyway,
No, I love that. And, for one, I want to say thank you to Carter for I'm making it easy on you today because I know it was busy in Kingsport. I'm gonna give Carter her flowers from Katie there, our operations manager. Carter's the best. I agree. Jasmine's giving you some flowers. Jasmine is our esthetician in Knoxville, both West Knoxville and
Jasmine's
Valley City.
awesome. Thank you,
And
Jasmine.
but Jasmine's also going to give Carter her flowers. So there we go. I
Yeah,
love it,
everybody's
guys.
getting flowers. Good.
I love it. I love it. Okay, we're going to get to live questions here. Before we do, I just got to make a quick little announcement for next week's show. We got a lot of regulars in here tonight. The show next week is going to be Monday, not Tuesday. Let me get the correct date here for what Monday is. Monday, July 31st at 7 is the next show. Tuesday, we will be off. And let's see here. And then August 8th, which we'll be back on our Tuesday schedule. Andy Rogers, my brother, will be filling in for Doc. So looking forward to having Andy on the show, answering your guys' questions. And we'll put tons of stuff up about that, but just make a note. Next week, the live show will be on Monday. And another tip, we've gotten some questions around. I'm not getting notified for the live show. If you click the bell part of YouTube, it will notify you. So even if you're subscribed but haven't clicked the bell, you're not going to get the notification. So if you haven't clicked the bell, it'll notify you anytime we go live. Okay, let's go to the questions here. Seeing them already come in. Thank you guys so much. If you have a question for Doc, we're going to be answering all of them tonight. And I'm going to start with Deborah over on Facebook. What are thoughts on Prevagen? What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, Prevagen is an over-the-counter for cognition, and I don't know. It's not as potent as Cognitex. I don't think. I've compared them in the past. I'd have to have them lined up to see, but I think Cognitex is more packed with some of those nutrients that are great for the brain. And I think they're probably around the same price. They're both over the counter. Cognitex is a life extension product that I like a lot. And there's all kinds of stuff you can do besides that. Lion's mane, Bacopa. There's a lot of little neurological supplements that really help. But I take the Cognitex personally. And I know a lot of neurologists that really like that one as well. Protandem's another combination one that I like a lot. It's got a little bit more Bacopa in it. But I'm not against Prevagen. Anything you can do to keep your brain sharp and have some nutrients for it. I call those medicines brain food. But yeah.
Deborah, thank you for that question. Over on Facebook, I see Terry's in here. Welcome in, man. Great to see you. I see Linda's here from Cincinnati. Cool. Hope you're having fun over there. All right, let's get to D. Lynn's question on YouTube. My friend has a large venous stasis. I'm going to mispronounce all these.
Stasis.
A large venous stasis ulcer on her calf. Her doctor is using a zinc wrap with compression. She wants to know if taking a zinc vitamin would help in the healing, or any other suggestions for healing here.
It's not going to hurt for sure. Remember, if you take too much zinc, you're going to deplete your copper. So if you're taking near 100 milligrams of zinc, you better supplement with a couple milligrams of copper. But yeah, those venous stasis ulcers are tough to heal. They really are. I saw a terrible wound in my office today that needs a venous study to determine why he has that. He had it after a procedure at a dermatologist office. We had a squamous cell cancer taken off, and it just won't heal. So he needs to get his circulation checked. Looks awful, but anyway, yeah, compression, elevation. The problem with circulation to the lower extremities is that the way I explained it is, to get your blood to your feet, to nourish your feet, bring oxygen to your feet, you've got your heart pumping your blood volume through a muscle called your heart, through thick-walled, tough arteries. It gets to your feet, has to come back against gravity without a pump, except from maybe your calf muscle contributes some. And it has to come back through these thin, fragile veins. These veins have these little valves in them. And so when the blood goes up, these valves shut to prevent backflow. Otherwise, if you didn't have these tiny valves in those veins, then all the blood by gravity would be in your feet.
Mm.
So you need those valves. And what happens is you get older, and after pregnancy, um, maybe being overweight, a lot of risk factors, family history of it, you can get poor circulation, poor venous return, venous reflux. And that what'll happen there is your skin won't get nourished and you'll get really thin skin. So if you start to get a brownish discoloration to your shins, you've got poor circulation, you've got venous stasis. That means blood pooling and not going anywhere. When blood doesn't go places to get reoxygenated, it's unhealthy, not only for your legs, but also for your everything, your energy, everything. So that's why venous disease is serious. And that's why I refer a lot of people to the vein company
Yeah.
for studies of it. And they do a wonderful job. They've worked on Jenny several times for, um, varicose veins and all, and reflux disease. But um, so you need to find out how bad it is. For one thing, they can a lot of times do a procedure on your leg, like remove the greater saphenous, and you'll reestablish collateral circulation and take that out. I used to do a lot of vein work too. I still do some minor vein work. I used to take out the big ones, um, along with my brother Bob. He's a vascular surgeon, um, but yeah, those things can be hard to heal. But yeah, I mean, hyperbaric oxygen sometimes if you get an ulcer, which means an infection, it just won't heal because it doesn't have any blood supply. So I like hyperbaric oxygen. There's these various salves and things, and sometimes it requires wound debridement and all. It can be quite onerous, and you got to be patient with those things. But yeah, those are tough. So I'm not, in answer your question, I don't know if oral zinc is going to help much or not. But I would definitely, almost every adult should be taking zinc supplements anyway, in my opinion.
D. Lynn, thank you for that question. I hope that helps your friend a little bit. Really good explanation of what's it called? Venous stasis.
Stasis, yeah.
Super interesting. Just the way the blood is circulating. Let's go to we'll go to over to Facebook here for a minute. Richard is asking Dr. Rogers if amino acids triggers mTOR and inhibits AMPK. Should we avoid protein for muscle growth and maintenance and concentrate on longevity instead? Most long-lived individuals are tiny, frail little ladies with no muscle. This is actually, Richard, I really appreciate this question. And kind of, we talk a lot about, being thin as like a longevity. You've mentioned calorie restriction being the only proven longevity tool. What's your thoughts on Richard's question? I really like it.
That's a really deep question. Obviously, Richard's done some research on the mTOR pathway, um, which is a growth pathway. And you know, so when you're young, you need it, and when you're older, you need to really to clear senescent cells out. So you want to inhibit mTOR. Mechanistic target of rapamycin is what that stands for. And AMPK is a little bit different, which I take a supplement of AMPK, really more for energy than anything. It's a little different pathway, but you know, um, it's a pretty good question. But if you want to turn into you may live longer, but if you want to turn into a little old frail lady, then yeah, avoid protein. I really think that you need protein. Most adults don't get enough, and you need muscle. So you got to use those other biohacks to, prolong longevity, like fasting, um, is good for your mTOR pathway. Um, and that's kind of how rapamycin works. It mimics fasting. So, but I've been, I did a podcast on protein, and this is a subject we really have to dig into. Our new neurosurgeon friend down in West Palm Beach, who
Yeah.
wants to come on and do some podcasts with me. So make a note of that, Ben, and I'm going to have a really good podcast with him about
What's the
this.
topic? What do you want to? I'm gonna write it down.
Well,
What do you
just
want?
this
Just a
copy that
question.
question down. So yeah, really, you know, it's interesting. A lot of times, from what I've witnessed, is that if you live into your 90s, especially your mid 90s, the men are more likely to make it than the women are into their hundreds. That's what I've experienced. But certainly women live longer. Um, but I just think you got to look at quality life and health span as well. We're not here just to live. We're all playing a losing game. We're all going to die. So we want to stay as healthy as we can. And I think, you know, um, protocols that'll biohack mTOR and AMPK really help. I like protein, and that's one reason why I take the essential amino acids, perfect aminos every day, along with a little bit of creatine as well.
Hmm.
Um, and I certainly take a collagen supplement as well. But I think you need muscle growth to maintain bone, to maintain brain, to get rid of fat. It's for your energy. Um, it's really for maintenance of all your body functions. So I'm big on uh, growing muscle, because the thing about it, when you stop growing muscle, that's when you get old. That's when you get weak. So I don't want to turn into a tiny, frail little lady with no muscle. That's
I
a great question, though. We'll address that. I'll get him on here. Ask ask him about that when you email him tomorrow, Ben. We're going to set up a podcast maybe this week.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm looking this up for. I see Ruth is in West Palm, and his name is Dr. Osborne, and it's a concierge longevity clinic in West Palm Beach. We're gonna be actually recording a an episode of the Common Sense MD with him,
yeah,
hopefully Friday. So Dr. Osborne
yeah. Can't wait.
is
Can't
his,
wait to talk with him. If y'all read his book this week, he has a really good book.
yeah,
Al, I forget what the name of it is. You sent it to me, but it's really interesting and fascinating. He's certainly on the longevity pattern. And it's
yes,
interesting because he's a neurosurgeon that is really interested in longevity. I mean, he
yeah.
knows all about rapamycin and mTOR and all this stuff, AMPK. So it's going to be a really interesting thing. And as a matter of fact, I'll lead off with that question, and see what his ideas about it are. But that's kind of my feelings about it.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's really interesting because I've heard you talk a lot about how, when we're younger, you want growth, but when we're older, you don't want growth because it could be cancer cells, stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
So
that's the old question. IGF-1, you want it higher, or, stimulated or not. Plus, you want to repair those senescent cells. A lot of times when you get older, you know, your body's not as good as clearing out trash out of your cells, and the the pathways to do that don't work as well. So you need to kind of biohack your way into better functioning, especially starts in the mitochondria. So which AMPK has a lot to do with. But that's a great question.
I'm going to put Christie's question up from Facebook here about BPC 157. I've seen a few videos about BPC 157. It sounds like amazing for aching joints and muscles. What's your thoughts on BPC 157?
Yeah, I love it. Body protection complex 157. It's a peptide, which means a string of amino acids. And yeah, it's really probably the only peptide I take it myself. It's the only peptide that I like orally because it really helps your gut as well. You've heard Robin talk about it a lot,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good. That's
That's
MK677. That's a little
MK's.
different, but BPC 157 is different. There it
Oh,
is.
there we go. There we go. We
You
had it.
have
I'm
it.
sorry. There we go. That's
Yeah.
the
So
explain this
go back.
episode for you, Christy.
Man, you had short hair there, Ben. But yeah, listen to that podcast, but it's an amazing peptide. It really is. It works orally as well as um, injectable. Um, you can use that along with alpha thymosin a lot of times for healing up, tendonitis and things. So listen to Robin's thing on that. You'll get an education. But I really like BPC 157.
All right. Thank you for that, Christy. Let's go back over to YouTube and get to Elise's question. We touched a little bit on this earlier tonight. What is recommended if I want to find out if I need hormone replacement and my doctor is not concerned about it? I'm 65 and I'm possibly dealing with things related. Any test to take? Elise, this is
Sure.
such a common question. So one, can you talk to Elise about how to talk to her doctor about it and
I wouldn't
go
even
from there?
talk to them about it. They're not going to know anything about it. So don't waste your time. Just come to somebody like us or somebody that does a lot of work with bioidentical hormones because they're not going to know enough about it to advise you on anything. And plus, they're probably going to poo-poo it because they don't know about it. Doctors are a weird group of people, let me tell you. I've been hanging around them all my life. And a lot of times, if they don't know something about something, they poo-poo it. So doctors can get arrogant in that manner. And I found that especially true with hormone replacement therapy because they probably read the Women's Health Initiative from 14, 15 years ago and are scared of hormone replacement. But you should be scared of not taking hormone replacement. Like I said, you want to delay menopause forever if you can. But you don't want to have periods your whole life, but you certainly want to keep your hormone levels up. So you need all the female hormones checked. And you need to really come in for something like a Cleveland Heart Panel, which will have it all on there, as well as your adrenals, your deep dive on your thyroid, your inflammatory markers, your insulin resistance numbers, which Dr. Osmond talks about so much that we're so huge on. So come in and get a Cleveland panel. And if you live in a city that doesn't have anybody that knows much about hormones, you need to read the book by Dr. Pam Smith, all about women's hormones. Read that book. You get a good education on what I think is the world's most knowledgeable person about female hormones. So do that and get checked and go to somebody who knows what they're doing with that. You'll thank me for that advice someday.
Elise, thank you for that. I hope that helps. I'll repeat that because it's important and we talk about it all the time on this show. All about women's hormones from Dr. Pamela Smith. That's a name you'll hear quite a bit on this show and on all of our shows on the YouTube channel at Performance Medicine. Real quick, team, can we get the name of books on Enneagram from our podcast with Ro? I need to do this for Cindy. Cindy, I apologize that I have not gotten to that. So if we can
That
help
was a
her
great
out.
podcast, and it's a great book. I read it in an afternoon or a couple of hours, and it really helped me figure myself out. And it's an awesome book.
We'll put it in the
We'll find that.
comments.
We'll find that out for you.
Put it in the Facebook
I
comments
have a
for
copy of it around
Cindy.
here somewhere. If Jenny's listening, she can bring it down. But
Cindy, we'll get to that. Just stay on the lookout. It'll be in there in just a second. Let's keep going here. Where am I? I'm going back to Facebook from Kathy. Are you familiar with Dr. Vaughn in Alabama that is treating long COVID patients who is doing lab testing for microclots? According to Dr. Risha Pretorius training using a special procedure. And if you are, do you have an opinion on the validity? I hope I'm reading that right, Kathy. It seems it's a particular procedure. Are you interpreting that?
yeah, I've never heard of him, and I don't know. Certainly, COVID was a clotting disorder for sure. You can almost assume that you had microclots. So I don't know if you have to go through a lot of testing or just treat it. You can use serapeptase. Of course, I recommend a baby aspirin for most all my patients anyway, unless there's some reason why they can't take it. And I talk to them about those reasons. But, um, nattokinase, serapeptase, or a 81 milligram coated aspirin. And maybe looking at some of the other inflammatory natures. Like when I do a Cleveland Heart Panel, I check for those inflammatory markers. I'm not sure you need, any really esoteric testing like that or not. Um, a lot of times you can just assume, hey, I'm having microclotting. I need protection from it
Mm.
because, and some people are more predisposed to it than others. Um, so look at your inflammatory markers and look at your endothelial, the health of your endothelium. One thing I want to do is get another um, carotid IMT scan in August. We do them in our office every couple months. Some folks come up from Atlanta and look at your carotid IMT, intimal media thickness test, which is a really good way to assess your heart as well as your carotid arteries and your endothelium. Remember, you're only as healthy as your vasculature, as your arteries. That's a good statement that a lot of people use, but it's true.
And
Um,
one thing I want to put in here for Katie, we're gonna you mentioned the carotid IMT, and we'll be putting this up because there is a little bit of time. We are doing that test in the Kingsport office Thursday, August 31 from 9 to 12. You'll be seeing stuff about that, but I wanted to mention it just because you brought it up in talking with Kathy here. We're doing it in the Kingsport office, carotid IMT ultrasounds. Thursday, August 31, 9 to 12. You'll see more of that from us just to make sure everybody gets a chance to do it if they would like. Great question, Kathy. Thank you so much. We're going to stick on the long COVID topic here for Braden. Braden is asking, have you used LDM for long COVID patients with head pressure / overall headache fatigue?
yeah, definitely. Definitely. I use it every day for that.
Okay.
Like I said, even the Stanford Long COVID Clinic uses it. So it's not that far out or alternative, really. We use it for a ton of stuff. With long COVID, the most typical symptoms I see are brain fog, fatigue, shortness of breath on exertion.
Mm.
And then you have all the other stuff you can see happening, like POTS and some of the things like that. But so, yes, the answer is an unequivocal yes. And I'm also using methylene blue, which I love too.
Braden, that might help you. Methylene blue is something we've been talking quite a bit about. Do some digging on methylene blue. It's super. Uh, everybody loves it. Oh, there we go.
Oh,
That's for Kathy there.
The Road Back to You. What a great book.
Or Cindy. Sorry. That is for Cindy. Road Back to You. This is an Enneagram book. We talked about this with Ro on the Common Sense MD a couple weeks ago. Thank you, team, for putting that up there. Let's see here. Thank you.
A lot of people
Thank
really
you.
like that podcast, and I really love that podcast that Ro did.
That was a lot of
She
fun.
does Enneagram coaching, and she's fantastic. I've referred several patients to her, and she's doing a great job with them.
Thank you, team, for getting that up there. Let's keep going here. I think we're at Lisa. Lisa always shares the broadcast. Thank you so much, Lisa. That means a lot to us. What do you think about prescribed synthetic calcium, and can it affect your kidneys and other organs? If it does, when you have low calcium issues, what's the best, safest alternative? Thank you.
Yeah, I don't like the supplement calcium. I'd rather you get your calcium in your food, like spinach and beef liver and those things. I just don't like any of the synthetic. I suppose if you have a really low calcium level in your blood, that gets complex. I had a patient last week that had a very low calcium level, and I had to look a lot further and found out that she has nephrotic syndrome. So she's losing protein from her urine, from her kidneys. And that low calcium really was not low at all. It was just appeared low because she had very low protein levels, low albumin levels. So when I got an ionized calcium level, it was okay. So yeah, I don't like extra calcium. You shouldn't need it. Um, you know, you might need to get in an endocrinology workup if you really have truly low calcium levels. And usually, I only see that when you've had your parathyroid mistakenly removed through a thyroidectomy or something, but very rare. Hypercalcemia is a different matter. Then you check PTHs and look at your parathyroids. Uh, it's usually a parathyroid adenoma. So just eat more. And, of course, I always talk about D with K
Yeah.
as far as that go. But low calcium, you really need to get an ionized calcium and look a little deeper into it. They may not be. They may be. I don't know. But good, good point.
And I'm gonna put this up here from Lisa. Just for one, I'm just super proud of you, Lisa. You can see here in her question, now down 63 pounds. She's gone from 170 units of insulin 3 times daily and 40 at bedtime of the concentrated big dog insulin down to basically none. That is unbelievable. I'm
Yeah,
so proud of you. No insulin. That's amazing. That's amazing.
that's amazing. Yeah, that's just amazing that you did that. Um, like I've said many times, you can cure type 2 diabetes and get off insulin.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I never like to use insulin in type 2s because it's just an insulin. It doesn't cure the problem. It is
Yeah.
the problem. Too much insulin, it doesn't work. So if it goes too long, you may have to end up on it, but hopefully not. You can lose weight, eat very low carb, and get off and cure your own diabetes, which sounds like what you've done. And I love
Le-
fermented food. The other part of that question, yeah, I do love fermented food. I think it's really good for your gut, as well as some other things, inflammatory markers, etc. Very healthy to eat. Um, Kombucha, you can drink kombucha.
Lisa, we are so proud of you. Thank you so much for putting that in there. I hope that gives some of you guys with us live tonight some encouragement. Thank you for putting that in, Lisa. All right, let's keep going here. I want to get to, this is another success. One step forward. I was on Manjaro and lost 36 pounds. It's amazing. I wanted to keep taking it every other week just to maintain. The $25 coupon ran out. Do you know an affordable way I could take it just to maintain, and how often? Katie or Carter might need to jump in on this one as far as some of the pricing goes for the alternatives.
Oh, well, yeah,
Uh,
there is you probably don't know this, but
I don't. Yeah.
there's some compounded, but she doesn't, but
Oh, oh,
there's some
oh.
compounded Mounjaro available, terzepatide. So that when they do a compound, they have to make it different than the brand name. So they'll use a little different form of it, add a vitamin, something that'll actually help it, and it's legal. So we have found, um, terzepatide and semaglutide from a compounder in Nashville that we use that's very reputable. And so we order a lot of it. Yeah, the problem with Manjaro, which is not indicated for weight loss, it's indicated for diabetes, they will come up with an identical problem or brand for weight loss. And it'll be the biggest, Lilly will put it out, who makes Manjaro, and it'll be the biggest selling drug of all time. I'll promise you that. Um, but yeah, they're not going to pay for it. They're just not going to do it. You know, my nurses spend all day trying to get these things prior approved, and it doesn't work. So the compounded is affordable, and it works really well. Um, so yeah, and sometimes I have people, you know, because none of it's cheap, not even the compounded, but it's at
No.
least a fourth of the price of the brand. But they space it out because a lot of people will need a maintenance dose of it. Some people can eat very low carb, intermittent fasting, and get off all of it. Other people that have a lot of insulin resistance in them, they're pretty heavy, then they may need maintenance the rest of their life. So, but I'm okay with you spacing it out and using a lower dose even. But that's kind of the way we feel about it. So ask our office about it.
I'm going to put this up from Carter just to give you some ranges here that we're seeing. So this is the compounded Manjaro called tirzepatide. Pricing is between 290 and 575 depending on the dose, and it seems that One Step Forward can might not have to do it as often, so she can she or he sorry could make it stretch out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, and she
So
probably use one of the lower doses. The 575 is gonna be the biggest dose,
yeah.
which you probably don't need.
Carter, thank you so much for putting that in there. I hope that helps One Step Forward over on YouTube. Let's keep going. Let's see here. I want to put this up from Colmeyer's daughter. One, because I love you. Thank you for being here. But it seems they watched the video with Robin today on birth control. I hope some people share that one because, like I said earlier, it's something that me being 37, I have a sister, like, you just didn't have those conversations, when we were in high school. So thank you so much, Cole Myers daughter, for watching. Okay, let's keep going. I see some more questions. Seems Elise, let me see if I can find let's get to Steve on Facebook and then we'll get to you, Elise. My brother Steve is asking, what is the latest thinking on rapamycin for people who have high cholesterol? I'm taking green tea extract for EGCG, and I'm not going to attempt to pronounce that, Steve. Epigallocatechin 3 gallate and charging it up with niacin. I hope I did okay.
Yeah, of course, I love niacin, and I take a green tea extract as well. Um, you know, I don't really care about high cholesterol so much like some people do. Certainly, I'd rather use niacin if I could rather than a statin. I'm not saying statins aren't useful sometimes. Sometimes they are, not because they bring your cholesterol down, because they help inflammation. Um, so it just depends on whether I use a low dose statin or not. Sometimes I do, but I always try to use a water soluble, very low dose one. But rapamycin, I don't care if you got high or low cholesterol, it's for a different purpose entirely. So that's what we talked about mTOR and that pathway that you need to inhibit. But yeah, I like those are good. Those are certainly good supplements. There's Veritrol, another one that a lot of people talk about with longevity. But rapamycin is so interesting. I hope that we can talk a lot more about rapamycin. The only real contraindication of rapamycin that I know or side effect is it may cause canker sores in your mouth if you're prone to get them. Theoretically, it suppresses your immune system, but when you use it in those low weekly doses, it really strengthens your immune system. But so it's an ongoing conversation about rapamycin. But like I say, if somebody has high cholesterol, I wouldn't worry about it. I don't think it's going to affect that as far as that goes in my thinking.
All right, brother Steve, I hope that helps. We're going to keep talking about rapamycin. I'm sure, it's such I don't know if it is trendy, the word, but like rapamycin is becoming like a topic in the kind of integrative functional medicine world. So thank you, Steve, for putting that in there. I want to put this up from Chuck because this might help One Step Forward on YouTube. Chuck is saying, speaking of Mounjaro, Blue Cross Blue Shield again declined covering for me, but they approved Ozempic. They're basically the same price. I don't really understand. Thanks to Robin Riddle for helping me with this. The West Knoxville team is awesome. They are incredible.
Thank you,
Huge shout
Chuck.
out to the West Knoxville performance medicine team. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Yeah.
But that's
I'd
incredible.
take the Ozempic. Certainly take the Ozempic. It's an awesome drug. So there may be a little bit more nausea with Ozempic, but certainly, we've used a lot more Ozempic than we have Mounjaro because it's been more available. It was first out there, and we've had just tremendous success with it. So definitely take it. work your way up. Expect a little nausea maybe, but it should go away. But what? Yeah, try it. And I don't understand insurances either. I mean, nothing about insurance do I understand. That's why I don't take insurance for office visits. It's just clouds everything, makes you mad. It's just not worth it. So, but you have to have it for disaster. That's what insurance is for. But congratulations, they covered it for your. I was saying good because that stuff's expensive.
No, that's
You know,
awesome, Chuck. We love you so much, man. Thank you for putting that in there, and thanks for the shout out to the West Knox team. Let's see here. Let's keep moving. Um, who have I missed? I know I'm. Let's get to Elise. I hope this helps Elise here. It's a little two parts. I also wonder about protocols for weight loss while under extreme stress. I usually manage with diet, exercise, supplements, but the stress is unrelenting and I'm struggling again. I'm pre-diabetic. I need to lose 20 to 25 pounds. What's your advice here for Elise over on YouTube?
that's a great comment. Um, there's one or two types of people: people that lose weight with stress, people that
Yeah.
gain weight with stress. Um, so everybody's metabolism is a little bit different, but you know, stress increases your cortisol, and cortisol in general is like taking prednisone; it increases your weight. So you have to, number one, think about getting rid of the stress. It's very hard to manage stress, but if you get rid of it, one thing is as you get older, you get wiser. My dad told me that would happen, and it certainly has happened. Um, so I do some things that are a little bit different than my old self. Number one, I learned to say no. Um, I'm very good at saying no, and if I don't want to do something, I don't do it anymore. And the other thing, I tend to be a delegator. I like to delegate things to people that can get it done quicker, better. That I don't have time to do it. I delegate a lot. Of course, that's pretty easy on me because when you have 50 employees working for you, it's easy to delegate. um, but try to look at why am I so stressed out? Is this just temporary or is this going to be prolonged? Because
Mm.
it's not just your weight it's affecting your health. It kills people. It causes cancer. It causes diabetes. It causes heart disease. It's probably as much of a risk factor as smoking is, to be honest with you. So it's just a killer. So get rid of it. Don't manage it. Get rid of it. If you have a terrible work environment, get something else. A lot of times I'll say that and people say, I can't, I'm trained for this job. Well, do something different. Life is short, do something different. Totally change what you're doing, make a major change. But, again, I think the best antidote for stress is, like you say, exercise,
Mm.
and certainly I love intermittent fasting. You just don't get hungry as much. There's all kinds of supplements that can aid with pre-diabetics, alpha lipoic acid, cinnamon, berberine is probably my favorite one. Use that a couple times a day on some people. Um, so, and even, like Chuck was saying, Ozempic, Mounjaro. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff up there. Just please go for some good advice, seek some good counsel, maybe listen to my podcast with Ro,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
I talk to a lot of psychologists. I refer out a lot. We have our own psychologist, Dr. Robin Branca, at our office that works with us because it's a vital part of not only weight loss, but health in general. That's why we have a nutritionist, we have a physical therapist. It's complex stuff. So, think about that. Think about getting to the root cause of that problem. And it's a lot of times, especially women, they take everything on themselves, and then their health just suffers. I see that all the time in my practice, because as a family doctor, you see people from birth to 100 years old. You follow them, and a lot of times I'll see girls in high school, then women in college, and they graduate, they have children, they have all these responsibilities, they usually have to work. By the time they're 50, just at the wrong time when they're going into menopause, they're obese because
Mm.
they've gained 5 pounds this year, 5 pounds, 5 pounds, because it becomes harder to keep weight off. your metabolism slows down. Most of them are underactive with your thyroid or overactive with their adrenals. So this is something that can be handled. As one of my favorite psychologists tells me, um, you should listen to this because you you think you're a unique individual. Your problems are not unique; they're common. So you're not the only one having that kind of stress. And do
Yeah.
something about it. Do something
Uh,
about it.
and Elise, I'm seeing some of your comments here, and I just want to say I'm praying for you. I'm thinking about you, and I hope you continue to come and hang out on this show. But definitely get rid of the stress, and it's definitely clear where the stress is coming from. So definitely, do what you got to do
Sometimes
there.
stress is, I talk to people all day long that, I mean, they have a family member that's dying or these terrible situations, but, is it, it'll get better. You have to
Mm.
have hope. You have to keep a positive attitude. You have to seek help, friends, family, therapist. Things get better. A lot of things are affected by past trauma. Um,
Let
that
me.
like that book, the other book that Roe recommended to me was The Body Keeps the Score. That's a really
Yeah.
good book that I enjoyed reading that Roe had recommended to me. So,
And I'm
but
gonna
yeah, if any way we can help you, please reach out. And there is hope. So
I'm gonna put
take
this
that.
up here. This is for you, Elise. Definitely right after the show, watch this one. Right after we end here, we're gonna call it a show in just a few minutes. Watch this video with Jamie Winship. What do you hope for? And then what I would do is I would watch all the Jamie videos. We have about 5 or 6. If it says Jamie Winship and it's on our channel, watch it. But please do that right after this show. I think it'll really be could be a game changer for you. All right, let's keep going here. Thank you, Elise. We love you. Um, let's see here. Where am I at? I want to get D. Lynn's question. She has 2 here. D. Lynn's asking, did you read up? Oh, yeah. Did you read up on the fermented honey and garlic?
I forgot all about that, Ben. Why didn't you remind
Dang.
me?
I'll,
No,
I'll write this. I'll write
put
this
that
down.
down.
Okay. So D-Lyn, we're gonna do a rain check
Sorry.
on this one. And then real quick for D-Lyn, do we need D with K or K2?
K2. When
Okay.
K, just the K2 is the form of vitamin K that you need, specifically MK7, if you really want to look into it, because there's plenty of forms of vitamin K1 and K2, and you need the MK7, which is the best form of K2.
I love it. I love it. I see Elise is a Jamie fan. We love Jamie so much. Thank you for putting that in there. If you have, you might have watched those videos then, but man, watch them again. I might actually go on a little Jamie Winship rabbit hole myself. So please do that. I've watched them a couple of times, a number of those videos. So I'm super pumped to hear you're a Jamie fan, and if you haven't read Fearless, read Fearless. Okay, let's see. Real quick, I'm going to put this up here because Roel might have been gone. He might not be here anymore, but he gave us a 10, and I want to put it up
Okay.
because I think you had a 9.59. I really do.
You
Uh,
had a 10 night. You had a 10 night. You did good.
I think you had a 9.5. Roel, who gave us a 10 already? See, there we go. Roel gave us a 10.
Man,
Um, I think it was a 9.5. I thought we brought the energy. Um, but Roel, thank you, man. That means the world to us. We love you guys. My brother Steve is saying he's 10. He's saying a 10. Roel is still with us. Thank you. This is a little reminder for everybody. Next Monday is our live Q&A show. So the next one will be Monday, July 31st at 7 p.m. Then the following week we'll be back on Tuesday with my brother Andy Rogers. August 8th, 7 p.m. We'll be back on our Tuesday regular show. So next week is Monday, and then the following will be back on the Tuesday regular show here. All right, thank you, team. Let's see here. We're going to get dogs to outro us. I see Matt gave us a 10, and I know he's going to take that 10 away from us
Yeah,
if the dogs
I
don't
think
go.
I hear the dogs coming. They're barking.
This is for you, Matt.
They're fighting in the corner.
Lisa's given
Izzy,
us 5-star. Montana, over in the West Knoxville office, you guys got so many flowers tonight. You guys are doing incredible. We love y'all so much. Montana's giving us a 10. Barbara's giving us a 10. Deborah's a 10. Michelle, a 10 plus plus. Thank you. Charity's giving us a 10. I love this. Izzy, what do you give us? Izzy, you give us a 10? Is Ike going to make an appearance? Ike's, where is he? Marshall, thank you. You guys are so sweet. Carter, thank you. Thank you for being here. We love you. There he is. There's the dude. There's Ike. So Ike and Izzy for everybody who's new. That's Ike. Those are the two dogs. We're going to call it a show. What do you guys think? Is it a show? Yeah. We're calling it a show. I love you all. I'm going to put this up for Dad. Dad, see what Chuck said. He can't hear me.
Shh. No.
We need some guitar. All right, we're calling it a day. We love you guys. We'll be back Monday, July 31st at 7 for the next live show. Thank y'all for hanging out with us. To everyone, there we go. That's for Chuck right there. To everyone on our team who was with us, we love you so much. Thank you for hanging out. And thank you for all the hard work you're doing in the offices. Today was just such a fantastic day in each of our offices. We love you so much. I'm looking for my outro. We're going to outro it. We'll be back next week on Monday. We'll see you then. Love you.
Don't go away.